morning on this rainy day. It is time for another chaotic update, another chat where I talk about all my knitting and crocheting. I have worked on basically all the sweaters this time. And we do have a little bit of a yarn haul from the Breidagen. That is a yarn fest in the Netherlands that I bought yarn at. Specifically for one project, so I'm very proud of myself. I didn't go overboard. Like last time, we're not discussing books. There will be a different recent reads video that I will post separately. The sweater that got the most attention is my hot chocolate doodle sweater. And that is because I really wanted to finish the body. Here we are. The body is done. Very happy with it, very proud. And now I can't continue. I really wanted to get this done as far as possible before I put on the other doodle sweater. Another colorwork sweater with the Pacific Knit Co. doodles. But unfortunately the yarn ran out. I do not have enough of the cream yarn. And I unfortunately could not find it on the Breidagen, so I have to order it. This is the Pacific Knit Co. Winter Doodle Sweater. But I used different doodles from one of her packs. I have used doodles from the winter sweater, the holiday tree doodle, as well as the stocking doodle pattern. And then this is what you got. I am very pleased with this. This is mostly made with Drops Merino Extra Fine on 4.5mm needles. I'm just glad I got the body done before I start another doodle sweater, because that is definitely happening after this, because I've been waiting to show you the yarn and then I can set it up. I have used more yarns, you know, like some fingering held double and stuff, but everything specific is on the Ravelry page. I will link down every Ravelry page. I will link down all the Ravelry pages from every project we talk about today. So you can always look up more if you want to know more. But that is the winter doodle sweater. It is my hot chocolate sweater. I'm very excited about it. I thought I finished the body, but I forgot that I do still need to do the duplicate stitching. So maybe I should also do that this week. So then it's completely done before I move on to the sleeves. I'm not sure. There is I'm hesitant about the duplicate stitching. I have done it before. It wasn't that hard, but I forgot, so I have to look it up again. That's all there is to it. I was really in a finishing mood, which is very funny because none of my sweaters are close to finishing, or am I able to finish? Like this one is close, but then I don't have yarn for the sleeves, and so forth and so forth, and so on and so on. So after this sweater I decided to work on the sock, because I'd been on my needles for so long and I felt like the first sock should have been done, so now it's done. This is a ribbed sock. It is 3x1 ribbing. I've made it on 56 stitches on a 2.5 circular, 9-inch circular. It is 100 rows for the leg, which is longer than normal, but I wanted to kind of have that leg warmer feeling, and that it does. If I would go over 100, I have to increase, then it would not fit all the way up if necessary. It has a heel flap and gusset heel, and then 50 rows for the feet and the toe. So the first one is done now, so I can finally set up the second sock and continue that. So it felt really good to finish at least one sock. After that, I decided to focus on one other sweater, and that is the Lanark by the Breidagen. And this is a slow one, which I was fully aware this is a slow stage. Everybody talks about how Fisherman rib is extremely slow. So I am in for the long haul. That's also part of why I set it up right now. So I can take the whole year to knit it, basically. But it still surprised me how slow it is, because it is actually extremely, it is in a rhythm. It is a nice rhythm. So I don't get why it is so much slower. But here we are. The color needed to be knit to 20 centimeters before knitting it together. That's what I've done. And I now just started on the back panel. And it took me forever to get to 20 centimeters. And I don't know why. Obviously, Fisherman's rib is slower. But it is a nice rhythm. So yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. I knew this was gonna happen, so it's fine. But yeah, this is it. This is how far we're at. It's not that far, but you know. There we go. And this is the back panel. It's gonna be so pretty. And it's extremely soft and fluffy. So it's gonna be so nice to have it. But it is gonna be a slog to knit. I already noticed that sometimes I get distracted by knitting this because I do not get the motivation of actually adding centimeters, if that makes sense. You do not see it physically grow at all. So I have to measure, and then sometimes I measure after like what I feel like is 1 or 2 hours, and then I still do not have 1 centimeter, or it's only 1 centimeter and not like 2, 3 or 4 I was aiming for. But the stitch is nice. The short rows in Fisherman's rib did make me think a lot. Rebecca has the yarn over method, and I felt that it was very handy to know the 1 stitch under the stitch method in the short rows. If you don't know Fisherman's rib, this probably doesn't say much, but there's basically 2 ways to do it. One is where you add yarn overs to the brioche knit stitch, and one is where you knit in the stitch under the brioche knit stitch. And I found the knitting under was easier during the short rows because it didn't work out exactly with my yarn overs every single time. So it was very helpful that if I should make a brioche knit stitch, that I could just knit the stitch under it and add that one to it instead of a yarn over. If that makes sense. I hope it does. Otherwise, if you really want to make this, look up both different methods. And that is going to be helpful to you. That is the whole gist of this story. But yeah, last time I was like this far in the color, and now I've knit double. You can't see, but I swear it is double. And then a little bit of the back piece. So this is my most anticipated sweater of the year. So I'm very glad that it gets worked on. And we're getting a shape now. If that makes sense. What I should have been focusing on after that is the project bag we're making with the stitch witches. This is the January and February project. So it would be nice if it gets done in February actually, because we're moving on to a new project soon. And I have added a bit of pink, which is helpful. But I've done this in sprints. And I forgot to work on it. After the sweater, the most important sweaters were done. Basically, I think it is a bit too big. And that is not motivating to me. But on the other hand, I do want a big project bag. It is nice to have them for sweaters, but mostly blankets. So, you know, you can still use it for sweaters. So I think that's why it's not as motivating for me. But I should really be crocheting on this. This is a free pattern that is linked down below, and I will, it is also in a Stitch Rich video, which is a knitting and crochet club I host every other month, where we listen to an audiobook and crochet or knit on a project. I try to look up free patterns that are quite similar for knitting and crochet. These 2 months it is a project bag. Next 2 months it's gonna be stuffies. And then the 2 months after that it's gonna be socks, and I'm very excited about that one. So only a little progress on this one. It has been in the car a lot because I kept taking it to work, but I don't crochet a lot on work, so it didn't work out. Now it's in the home again, but it has been near my desk for sprints, so I keep forgetting working on it on the couch, which is when I have the most time. So what I worked on instead after the Lanark is another sweater. This is my black and white striped lusk, my Wednesday sweater, if you will. This is made with Hobbii Black Friday sock yarn, Hobbii Black Friday unicorn for the black, and then the other black and gray is Atelier wool based Wednesday yarn countdown for Halloween. We're working on the body, so this is a very easy, very mindless knit. That is exactly what I knitted after the Lanark. And I think I put 3 rows on it, 3 stripes on it, maybe a little bit less. Not that much, but it was like an evening of knitting. I like how it looks. I like how it works out. So very excited to work on this, keep going. I needed a bit of more of yarn, and that is fixed now at the Breidagen, so I can continue this, but this is the lowest priority actually of all the sweaters. Like, obviously I want it done because we're working on it, and you know, we're already at the body. But the Lanark is the favorite sweater. I wanted the doodle sweater to be finished before I start the other doodle sweater. That one obviously needs to be done at the end of the year, so that is the one I will be casting on after this. I will definitely focus on a lot, because I don't care if that one is done in May. That is fine by me. I'd rather have it earlier than leave it at the last minute. I just want to make sure that sweater is definitely ready for my Disney trip. And that is where we get into the yarn. So it is time for a little yarn haul. I went to the Breidagen 2 weeks ago now, I feel like. And it was lovely. It was so much fun. I intended to vlog it for you guys, but I forgot. At the end of the day, I saw Sarah from It's a Sarah vlogging there, and I was like, yeah, forgot to do that. I only went one day, so you know, there was no way for me to do it anymore. But it was fun. It was more fun than last year. I think I saw so many more people with hand-knitted sweaters that I absolutely loved seeing. There was more woolly yarns than last time. Last time it was a bit later in the year. I think it was in April. Maybe March. But it was going into spring and summer, so there were a lot of plant fibers. And I was looking for woolly yarns then, so I was a bit disappointed. And now I had to look for woolly yarns again. And I was now aware that I might not be able to get it, but I found everything I needed. There were so many woolly yarns and I absolutely loved it. So the most important thing is that I was looking for yarn for my Disney Doodle sweater. It is gonna be a combination of the Pacific. It is based on the Beauty and the Beast sweater in the Disney knitting book, but I am using the Winter Doodle pattern by Pacific Knit Co. because that is DK yarn instead of sport weight. So it should go faster and it's warmer, which I need in winter in France. And I also thought that either fingering weight or DK yarn is easier to get than sport weight on a knit fest, and I was correct. But then I will be using some of the fairy tale doodles from Pacific Knit Co as well, because I like the flower, for instance, better than the first one on the sweater. I am going to make the background be pink. I was very inspired by the shawl Pacific Knit Co made pictures of with her fairy tale doodles. So the background is going to be pink. And I bought 4 skeins of very pretty pink yarn. It is fingering weight, so I will be holding it double. Oh, it's blowing out. That's better. This is gonna be the background color. I really, really like it. Obviously, otherwise I would not have bought it, right? And then I needed some mini skeins for the color work. I needed gold and I needed purple, which both also were from Wool Hobby. Which they had a lovely boot, so. And then I also needed a very, very bright pink for the lid on Mrs. Potts. And this is what I got. Oh, that is also. There you go. I love this. I forgot the name of the boot. I'm so sorry. I think it was Frogmouse Studios that I bought this at. They had a lovely mini skeins bar, and it was rainbow color, and they were all extremely vibrant, and it was lovely to see. I feel like that is part of why Knitfest are so fun, because you have all these booths with extremely pretty yarns everywhere. Then I really wanted to get another sock blocker. This is by Femme from the Mindful Creators. I bought one from her last year to try it out. I liked it, so I wanted another one, so now I can actually block a pair of socks. She has improved them. They now have magnets and they don't fall off as easily, but you can still get them off if you want to. I never take mine in half. I just store them like this. I just keep them hanging basically. So I'm very glad that they do not fall in halves anymore as easily. So very happy with this. It comes with a little hook to hang it on. Then I also got some more gray yarn. This is from MDLN. I think it's Madeline Yarns, but MDLN. They're from Belgium. And I bought this gray because I thought it would fit the Wednesday sweater, because I definitely did not have enough gray. So that is the plan. Then I also bought some dyes. I chose pink and purple because I want to dye glittery sock yarn in Cheshire Cat colors, so I can make Cheshire Cat socks, which seems very appropriate. And I found these 3 little minis at the Atelier wool-based booth. They're definitely my favorite dyer from the Netherlands, and she is actually quite affordable. She's on the lower end of hand dye yarn, and they're so gorgeous. I had a pink autumnal advent calendar last year, and I was hoping to make a pink sort of sea glass sweater from that. But there were more browns in there than pinks. So I needed more pink minis. I have been saving pink minis for 2 years now to make a pink sea glass sweater. So when she had a basket of minis, and most of my hand-dyed yarn is from her anyway, so I just got out the pinks. And it will probably fit with all the other minis that I have, because more than likely they're from her. And then my friend surprised me with this. We saw this at the V Yarn Company booth. They're based in Nijmegen, which is actually very close to me. And they had doodle sets from Pacific Knit Co. I usually buy them digitally because I didn't even know we could get them physically in the Netherlands. And apparently we can, and it is extremely close to me. So that was idiotic. But they had the best doodles there. They had the fairy tale pack, which I just bought digitally the week before KnitFest. So yeah, that was unfortunate. But my best friend bought that one. And then she bought this one for me. This is the Alaskan doodles. I didn't want to leave this, but I had set the rules for myself that I needed to buy the yarn for my sweater first before buying anything else. And she was like, yeah, you're not letting go of this, so I'm gonna pay. She was like, give it to me. And I was like, no. She was like, give it to me. Fine. And then she bought it for me. Because it has a Malamute on it. So I really wanted to have this in combination with the dog doodles, because we had the husky face already, but this is a full-on Malamute in a full-on body. This is a full-on Malamute and full body dog. It is absolutely stunning. I need socks from this. So now I can. And it is making me very excited. So thank you for getting that for me. I love that I have a physical pack now. I'm gonna keep, I need a binder now that I need a holder for cards now in my binder. And I'm gonna keep this too and then put all the cards in there. I think that's gonna be lovely. Yeah, so that was a very fun surprise and I loved it. And then there were some goodies we got. We got this little bag from Wobby because I bought loads of yarn there. They also gave out a badge. And then another woman, another stand gave us these wool washes. And this is the brand I usually use, but they had pomegranate. And I'm very, very curious to see how that smells. So they gave both of us a tester. And that was lovely. So now I can actually try it out. And then there was a woman and she had the most cute crochet frog handbag and it was adorable. So we complimented on her and then she both gave us stitch marker. And I think that she had a whole cookie tin of stitch markers to share and, you know, give to everybody she was meeting there, and it was so lovely. So we both got one, and I think that was the most adorable thing of the whole market, if I'm honest. That was so cute. So we had a lovely time. There were obviously very pretty and very soft yarns that I could not buy. There was a new booth which is called Nocturnal Yarns, and they had the most pretty moody dark colors. Unfortunately, they were a bit above my budget, specifically since I needed that sweater quantity for the Disney sweater. But I have their card now. So yeah, we will coming back to that. I will buy yarn there in the future because it is extremely pretty. There was a very pretty purple glittery yarn by Breidagen. Schaap en draak. And it was a lovely lady. And my friend actually bought yarn there, and it is where I bought the dyes. However, that sparkly yarn in purple was such a witchy color. I felt that has to be the base for the next doodle sweater I'm planning to make, and that is going to be a Halloween one. A witchy Halloween one, might I add. So that yarn felt absolutely perfect. Again, did not have the budget for it now because I already bought a sweater's quantity of it. But she told me in honest that it wasn't the fastest selling yarn, and probably still fast enough to make a new batch. So she was like, yeah, of any of them, I think that one is one of the safest to wait out on. So you can do that, and you can just send me a message when, you know, you are able to buy it. And then I can send it to you. So that was lovely. That was very, very, very helpful. So thank you for that. And then there is one other yarn I missed out on. I could not budget. People budget. I stuck to my budget and I'm very proud of it. But unfortunately that does mean sometimes that you have to let go of yarns that you really want. And I found a new yarn that is Earth Yarns. And they have a superwash ultra fine merino that is spun so finely that it felt like cashmere. I think that is the softest yarn I've ever felt in my life. It was so soft. But all they had was minis. So they specifically brought minis so you could try out the yarn and in a color work. So without buying too much, you could still try it out. I want the sweater quantity of that yarn. Minis are not gonna cut it. I obviously did not have the budget. And I'm also very scared that yarn is gonna ruin me. I am sure that it is a yarn that I can wear on bare skin, which is not happening a lot if you're neurodiverse like me. I am very afraid that yarn is gonna ruin me for every other yarn. I'm very afraid that I only want to wear that kind of yarn then anymore. Only that yarn or cashmere, which is so expensive. So yeah. I'm very afraid that is what's gonna happen. But I'm gonna love a sweater out of that yarn. I need it. It was so soft. I can't tell you how soft it is. And it's just superwash merino. But it is so spun so tightly. It actually felt like cashmere. I think, like, I have a cashmere based sock yarn that wasn't as soft as that yarn. Yeah, if you're neurodivergent and you need an extremely soft yarn, I would recommend this one. Obviously, I can't tell you how it wears. I haven't knitted a sweater with it yet. I don't know if it pills a lot. Probably because it was extremely soft. And that, you know, extremely soft yarns tend to pill. But that was such a nice yarn. So I will be emailing that man too. When I have money again to buy a sweater quantity of that yarn. They have so many colors as well. I need those. I need those yarns. So there are 3 more sweater quantities I want to get that I've seen on the Breidagen, but did not have budget on the Breidagen for. So I will be getting that later. Not even sure if I can buy all 3 this year. But yeah, those are the yarns I keep in mind. And I will try to save up for and buy above other yarns. If that makes sense. The light is very different. I'm sorry. I am sitting next to a window. I don't have artificial light on. And it is very rainy. It was very dark outside. And now it is a bit lighter. And I'm immediately overlighted. I am sorry. That is why the light changed. It is changing a lot outside. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, please like, subscribe if you want to see more chaos from me. We talk about books and knitting and crochet on this channel. So feel free to stay and be part of all of this mess and chaos I'm making. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.